All right. Good morning, everybody. So we left off. We got to the Mishnah on the top of Kuf Beis, Amar Aleph. So it starts off top line. Hazarik. The last Mishnah of the parak. Hazarik v'nizkar miachar shiatza miyado. So one who throws something and then he remembers after he threw it, he realized that it was Shabbos, or he wasn't allowed to go ahead and throw something Daled Amos. And now the Gemara is going to explain this case. Kalta acher, kalta kelev, o shenisrfa. If let's say somebody grabbed him midair, so he meant to throw it farther and to go Daled Amos, and someone stopped it or grabbed it, or a dog jumped up and put it in his mouth, or landed in a fire. And so all these cases, he did not cause it to land. Putter. All right, such a case, he's putter. The Gemara is going to explain. So we have to understand what the correlation is between having the das throughout. In other words, normally when a person does malacha, he has to do it entirely b'shogeg. We'll see from the Mishnah. But we'll see what the connection is with the second case of it having to land from his own power versus some other type of landing. Let's see. Zarek, a similar case, Zarek lasses chabura. Let's say someone throws something intending not necessarily to carry, he can even be doing it in Rosh Hashanah, but he intends to cause a chabura, a wound on Shabbos, which is forbidden. Bein bi'adam, bein behema, whether it's in a human or an animal. The nizkar ad shloi nasa chabura, and then also he realized, oh my God, it's Shabbos, right? I can't do this on Shabbos. Putter, he's putter. Why? Because that klal, here's the rule: kol chayave chatos. Anytime a person is to be chayav chatos, einan chayovin ash teit chilasan v'soifan shaga. He is not chayav unless the beginning and the end were done b'shogeg. He did it unaware whether it was forbidden to do on Shabbos, or he knew it's forbidden to do on Shabbos, but he was unaware that it was a Saturday. Shaga tchilasan shaga soifan. 1 second. So tchilasan shaga v'soifan zadon. If the beginning was shogeg, and then also in the middle of the action he realized it was Shabbos and he was doing now b'mezid, or opposite tchilasan zadon, or he knew in the beginning of Shabbos and he forgot midway of the malacha, the seven shaga. Peturin ash tehei tchilasim the seven shaga. So he's patur until it's the beginning and the end is shogeg. So now let's see the Gemara. So the Gemara says, So the Gemara first says that if someone throws something and then he realizes midway, if it's caught by a dog or a human or lands in a fire, he's patur. Sounds like hanacha, but if he threw it, realized midway, and it landed chayiv, he would be chayiv in such a case. Right? But he remembered it. It says in our Mishnah, the rule at the end is you're only chayiv when you're shogeg throughout from the beginning to the end. So how could you say the case that? Why are you saying the case only if somebody else catches your pater? Even if it landed where he was supposed to go, he would also be pater because you don't have a case of tchilas masayf hashkaga. So maybe the safest time about something else. Maybe the case is talking about when somebody is throwing something with a rope. Some of the rope usually was used to tie down basically a saddle or saddlebags around to hold down where they would sit and help with the load, the balance, and there would be like a rope attached to it. So maybe we're talking about a case of when he threw it, since it's in his hand, right? So in this case, in his hand, it has to be the entire time. It has to be a case of shogeg. If he remembers then, while it's still in his hand, since it's still in his hand, then he's pater. So the rest is lechto masna agda biyado. What do you mean? He wouldn't be chayiv because even if it does land, it's still in his hand. When in order to do the zrika, it has to, the entire thing has to leave his hand, not just part of it. So he wouldn't even be chayiv in such a case. So that can't be the seifa. Who? Right. So the Gemara says, kagon sheniskavin laasais chabura. So, over here, maybe even it's holding his hand, but he throws it in order to basically hit somebody. And then he remembers in the middle. So since it's still in his hand, he remembers in the middle, then he'd be pater. Gemara says, hanami tanina. What do you mean? This is also the case. Hazar glasses chabura. Bein biyada, bein behema. The niska achla nasas chabura pater. It says over there, someone threw something, right, in order to cause someone damage, right, whether it's an animal or a human, and then he realized before, then he's pater. So you can't say that he would be pater, right? So so this is a direct case that they were saying that if it was his hand, he threw it to make a chabur, but that was also mentioned in our in the Reisha. Rather, Rava says no. We're talking about something else. The mavir we're talking about a case of the Mavir. Notice when he's walking Daled Amos, right? Since at that point when he's doing the Daled Amos, right, then if while he's walking, right, and then he realizes that's the case we're talking about. But when it says Zak Cloud, it's talking about Zrika. In other words, the difference between walking with something is because any point in time, if you realize, you could stop. Versus when you throw it, once it leaves your hand, it's completely gone. So you can't say the rule is only talking about when you have to realize that it's shogeg the entire time while you're walking with it, because this malacha takes 5 seconds to do, as opposed to when you use zorek, it's one. Because the Mishnah says, even talking about the case of zorek, and on that the Mishnah says, even if you're zorek while it's in the air, when it's no longer in your hand, you still have to. It can't be aware it's Shabbos. So therefore, the Gemara backs off the previous understanding. That was all a havamina, and now here's Maskar Ela Marava Tarti Ktani. It's actually two separate completely cases. First one is Hazarek V'Nizkar Me'achashiyat Samiyado. One who throws something and then he remembers after it leaves his hand. So he throws a football, and he's in the Rosh Hashanah. He realizes it's Shabbos midway through while it's traveling. Then he is putter, right? He's putter in such a case. Inami or Loi Nizkar. Let's say he threw a football, or let's say a biscuit or something like that. Loi Nizkar v'kalta acher or kalta kel. So he meant to throw a football and it literally intercepted, right? It was intercepted at the line, right, within 3 amos, right? So he never brought it down amos, right? So it was interesting. He didn't land it, right? Loi Nizkar v'kalta acher kalta kelev ocean Yisrafa, or it landed even if it went beyond Dalet Amos, but it never landed it properly because someone else grabbed it. So someone else did hanacha, or it landed in a fire and therefore it never landed on the ground because it burnt up immediately. All these cases are putter. Because why is one putter? Because he didn't do his intentions. Intentions were to throw it further, and it was intercepted by whether a human or a dog or landed in a fire. Therefore, he's putter. And Rav Ashi says no, a little bit different way of understanding. The Mishnah Chasur Mechsor. Our Mishnah is actually missing a couple words. This is how it should really read. Hazarik v'nizkar, one who goes ahead and throws an object, v'nizkar, and then he remembers me'achashiyat samiyado after it left his hand. Now, kalta acher or kalta kelev osh nisrfa pater. And then, if someone grabs it, or a dog grabs it, or it burns in a fire, he's pater. Ha nacha. But if it lands, then he's chayiv. He's chayiv in such a case if it lands. And obviously he throws it, and despite the fact that he remembers, he's still chayiv, right? But medar murim shachazar v'shachach. That's only remember when he remembered and then forgot again. In other words, so it's not saying that he threw it and then he realized that Shabbos and it landed he's chayiv, because that you still be puzzled, because that's a violation of the latter rule in our Mishnah, which says you have to have the beginning and the end to be shogeg. So what's the case we're talking about where he would be chayiv, even though it was a case of when he threw it, he remembered, oh my God, it's Shabbos, and then the guy, right, then all of a sudden he forgot it's Shabbos again, right, and then it landed. So since the beginning was he didn't realize it was Shabbos, the end was already, even though he realized in the middle, he forgot again it was Shabbos. Such a case, he's chayiv, right? But if he doesn't remember and forgets, pater. Then, if he just remembers the Shabbos and then he realizes the Shabbos as it lands, he's pater. Because then it goes like by the rule at the end that a person is only chayiv for Shabbos only when the beginning and the end are done b'shogeg. That's the case where you have to go ahead and bring a chatas. Fine, 2 dots. So zeh klal kol chayave chatos v'chulei. So this is the rule. Any case of chayav chatas, he has to be shogeg from beginning to the end. So itamar shtei amos b'shogeg. So now we're talking about a person who's, let's say he's mavir dalet amos. He's carrying something for dalet amos. That's the halacha 4 amos in Rosh Hashanah. So the first 2 amos he does b'shogeg, he does accidentally. Shtei amos b'mezid, and then the next 2 amos he's doing it b'mezid. So from amma 3 and 4 he's doing b'mezid, and shtei amos b'shogeg, and then he does another 2. So he walks 5 and 6 b'shogeg again. So he forgot again. So he walked a total of 6. The first 2 and the last 2 were shogeg, and the middle one was done b'mezid. Now remember, even though it's b'mezid, you realize it's Shabbos. Basically, you have lost your opportunity to bring a chatas, because the chatas is only brought when a person does something accidentally, and he gets kapara. But if he does something more on purpose, deliberately, then he would not be able to go ahead and bring that chatas. So Rabbi Omar Pater. Rabbi is in such a case you're Pater, because since your Dalet Amos were split by mezid, you're Pater. And Rav Omar Chayiv. Rav says you're Chayiv. Rav says no. We don't worry, even though, yes, in the middle he did two b'mezid, but since he started b'shogeg, right? He did two b'shogeg in the beginning and two b'shogeg at the end, we can combine the two, and the middle realization of Shabbos does not affect it. And the Gemara is going to explain. So Rav Omar Pater, Rav Omar Chayiv. So Rav Omar Pater, Rav says Pater, Afilu Rav Gamliel, even according to Rav Gamliel, the Amar Ein Yadil Chatzi Shir, who holds Ein Yadil Chatzi Shir. Now we have later on, coming up, I think in Perek HaKosev, is coming up pretty soon, I think. So over there is machlokes, is the minimum amount a person can write on Shabbos is, the word is a two-letter word. Let's say a shame, right? Name, right? So shame is shin mem. So now let's say a person writes one letter, okay? Then he realizes it's Shabbos, and then he writes another letter. Once again, he forgot about Shabbos. So he has the idea in the middle. So as the machlokes over there, as to whether this yediyah, this knowledge of that which occurred, is considered to be a knowledge. Some hold there's a machlokes by yediyah chatzi shir. Can one have a yediyah on something that's not yet the minimum requirement? Since the minimum requirement of writing on Shabbos is two letters, maybe I can only realize I did something wrong on Shabbos after I write two letters. So that's the machlokes we'll get to later on, but that was in a short. There's machlokes named Rabban Gamliel Rabbanan. So even according to Rabban Gamliel, who holds the ein yediyah chatzi shir. Now, it's just because I realize it's Shabbos after one letter, and then I forget again, then I write the second one, my realization in the middle is nothing, because I only realized I wrote one letter, and one letter is not good enough of writing. You could only have a realization of that you wrote two letters. So therefore, over there, Rabban Gamliel says ein yediyah chatzi shir. However, hasam hu d'chi kol gamer shira b'shogeg kol gamer. Over there, the reason why he's chayiv is because when he wrote the second letter after his half yediyah, right, he wrote the second letter b'shogeg. Therefore, that case is chayiv. But over here, the amazing low. Over here, we're talking about what he did at b'mezid. In other words, because remember, he walked to b'shogeg, and then he walked to b'mezid. So therefore, when he hit the 4 amma point, what was he doing? He was walking b'mezid. He knew it was Shabbos. That's the reason, even in this case, he would say, you're pater. So Gemara says, Uvamai, in what case? If we're talking about when he throws it, Shogegu. Well, he threw it b'shogeg. He can't stop. He can't go back. So when he threw it, there was b'shogeg. So Ella b'mavi. Rather, we're talking about a case where he carried it and he didn't throw it. And Rabba says, Chayiv is Chayiv v'afilu l'Rabbanan, and even according to the Rabbanan, the Amri yesh yediyah chatzi shir. And even according to the Rabbanan, who hold that there is yediyah chatzi shir, notes if you realize in the middle, then that creates a tour in terms of the chatas when it comes to the writing. So too over here, maybe you'd think he'd say pater. So Rav say even Rabbanan yesh yediyah chatzi shir. Hasam hu biyado. Over there is a case since he was writing it, he had the ability to stop, and therefore he didn't. But over here, since it wasn't his case because he threw it and it was no longer in his hand, so therefore he would, even in this case, he would be a chayiv, because once it leaves his hand, it doesn't matter what he knows, right? It's still, he has no way to pull it back. Umay, what case? Even Ma'avir, if it's carrying it, he could pull it back because he's carrying it. He can just stop. But Ella b'zarek. Rather, we're talking about a case of where he zarek, where he threw it. And Omar Rabba says, some sages to Rav, Omar Rabba, Zarak v'nacha b'pi akelav or v'ya kivshan chayiv. One who goes ahead and throws something and it lands in the mouth of a dog or in a furnace, it gets destroyed, immediately he's chayiv. Our mission seems to say, talking about a case of where if somebody catches it or a dog grabs it or it gets burnt, he is pater. So hasam d'lo michavein, hacha d'cha michavein. Over there, now it's if my intentions were to throw it and land it on the ground and something else, and not to get destroyed, and it lands, and then something else eats it up as it landing, or it lands in a fire, then a pater was my intentions. But if my intentions were to go ahead and throw this marshmallow in the fire, right, throw something in a fire, or throw something in a dog's mouth, the dog biscuit in the dog's mouth, so since that's my intention, that's like it's landing in a place of Dalet Amos. Dalet Tvachim. It has to land on a makom. So since that was my intentions, so therefore this would be intentional. It's not considered like there is no landing because it got destroyed upon landing. And Amar Bibi Barabai Avanam Tanino also actually we could bring a proof for that. Tanina, as we learned, Yesh Eichel Achil Achas v'Chayv Lo Dal Chatos. We actually seen this before. A person can eat one thing and be Chayv for Chatos v'Asham Echan, one Asham. Hatame Right, real quick. One who is tame, right? So he's a tame who's eating hektish, okay, and he's eating chalev, right? He was eating non-kosher. These are the list of chatas. This is a chalev. This is a forbidden fast that one eats chalev. That one gets chatas for, and it was nicer. It was left over to the next day. B'Yom Kippurim and Yom Kippur. So you're chayav 4, right? And you also chayav 1 for an asham from asham ilah for getting forbidden hana from using hektish. And Reb Meir Omer af im haisa Shabbos haitzia b'fiv. Reb Meir says not only that, if you're eating it and you're walking out on Shabbos, you're chayav for it being in your mouth. So even though Reb Meir says you're chayav for that, Amar lo einan min hashem. It's not the same type of chayav. Over there we're talking about what you're eating, you're chayav for, but over here you're really chayav for carrying. Right, and carrying food, and not necessarily the eating of the food, right? So Gemara says, why should you be chai for that? You're not being mitzi any, right? This is not the normal way of carrying. The normal way of carrying is in your hand, not in your mouth. Since his intentions were to carry it with his mouth, to eat it and have it in his mouth, therefore his mouth is now the new derech. So hachinami, so too in our case. Since my intentions are to throw it in the fire or to throw it in a dog's mouth, therefore that is considered to be a makom, and therefore one would be chai for that. So hajner loch ha zayrik. Now we turn to the next page. I don't know if there's that. All right, is that back on mute? All right. Very good. All right. So now we're going Kuf Beis Amud Beis. Now we start off. So new Mishnah, Naya Perek.
Naya Mishnah.
Baina. So one who builds on Shabbos. Baina is one of the malachos of Shabbos. So one who is baina, how much does he have to go ahead and build in order to be chayiv? Habayna kolshu. Any amount. There is no middle amount. You do one little thing of building, we'll soon define what that is, then you're chayiv for it. Or one who chisels, one who goes ahead and hits with a hammer, final blow with the hammer, with a sledgehammer.
Tracking.
Hakarech kodeach kolshu, or even one who drills. Right, somebody who drills any sort of hole, chayiv. That person chayiv zak cloud kol ha'osim malacha u'malacha miskayemes. Anybody who does a malacha and that malacha is permanent, the Shabbos chayiv. He is chayiv. Rishon Gamliel Omer af hamakeh bekornes al sadan v'shas malacha chayiv. Even one who goes ahead and bangs on the anvil, right, with the hammer on the anvil, so he is chayiv, even though now it's not necessarily doing work. Why is he chayiv in such a case? Right? It's like he's improving his work because by banging on, I guess, the anvil or making it, harder, right, and therefore more easy to work later on. So therefore, that's also considered to be a malacha on Shabbos. So let's see the Gemara. So kolshu. So we said one was bayna kolshu, any mount is chayiv. So the Gemara says lamai chazi. What do you mean? How could any mount be? What's that good for? So Rabbi Yirmiyah shechedani chayfer kumalatz neba prutav, right? Prutosov. We find a poor person would dig a small, tiny hole to go ahead and put his coins in there. The kvase. Now, where do we see by the Mishkan? The kvase gavi Mishkan shechein toifer yiriyas chayfer kumalatz neba machteyim. Because we find by the Mishkan, those who used to go ahead and sew the curtains together, they would go ahead and basically make little holes and leave their needles there. And Abai Omar, no, they wouldn't do that because if you put them in, they'll rust. Right? They don't want their needles to rust, so they wouldn't dig holes for that purpose. So where do you see that they were small malachas that was done? We find that an ani who has a small single stove, he would go ahead and build a small stand in order to put his stove on. The kvasim, where do you find that in the Mishkan? The Mishkan b'vashli simanan litzva yiriyos shechasam alaftan. So you find by the Mishkan that those people who used to go ahead and cook the dyes, and before they would go ahead and dye the material, they would have to cook it up, And if there was a small amount they were missing, they would have to they need only a small fire. So they'd use a small little oven to go ahead and cook, and they make a small stand for that oven. So Rav Acha bar Yaakov Amar, no, we would not use small ovens for the grand Mishkan, right? It's not considered. It's it's not as kibbutzik, right? They'd make, if they need more, they'd make a large amount. They wouldn't make a small amount. They wouldn't count their pennies. Ela shechein balabai shechein lo nekav v'irasav. If a person, right, the homeowner has a hole somewhere in his wall, right, he would go ahead and he would basically fix up a small hole. The kfas to get a Mishkan, still we find by the Mishkan, shechein kashe shenafla bardarna ma'ativ l'seicha aver b'seitno. We find by the Mishkan, maybe you had a small, one of the boards, maybe had a hole from a worm or something like that. They would go ahead and fill it up with lead, and then one would be chayiv in such a case. So we see that was done in the Mishkan. Fine. In Omar Shmuel, hamatzadid is a oven chayiv. One who goes ahead and is mitzadid, he places down a stove, he sets it in, he's chayiv. So Meisvei Esther Kasha, one guy puts down the stone, one guy puts on the plaster. One who goes ahead and puts the plaster is chayiv. Wait, you just said one who puts the stone down is chayiv, right? So why is the person put a stone down chayiv? But when one person puts a stone down, the other person puts plaster, it's the plaster is chayiv, not the person put the stone. It says, even according to you, look at the sefer. It says in that Bryce, even one who goes ahead and places a stone on top is chayiv. Ella, rather, how do you understand it? Tlasa binyane havi. There's three levels of bricks in a wall. Tasa, Metzia, Vila, right? The bottom, middle, and top. Tasa, Baitzidu Ofra. The bottom one requires setting in place and moving it in the earth. So therefore, that was the first case that we said. One who goes ahead and sets down, he sets a stone. It means he sets the large stone in place, and that's it. That's the final work for that stone. Metzia, right? The middle level, boy, nami, tino, you have to put the mortar. So that was the case where he said one places the stone, the other puts the mortar, right? So the person who puts the mortar is chayiv. And Aliyah on the top one, ba'anacha b'alma, just putting on top makes you chayiv. Ba'masates, and one who goes ahead and chisels. So masates meshumai. Why is one goes ahead and chisel? What's he chayiv for? So Rav Omar meshum baina. Rav says he is chayiv for building. Shmuel Omar meshum makav patish. No, the av malach is makav patish is the final blow. So Rav says baina, and Shmuel says makav patish. And we're going to see the machlokes in three cases. That was one. Next one. If one goes ahead and makes a hole for a chicken coop for air, for ventilation. Rav Omar Mishum Baina. Rav says you're making that hole in the chicken coop. You're a chayiv for a bona, for building. Shmuel Omar Mishum makav patish, for making the final blow. And Ilu Shufta bekufina demara. One goes ahead and puts in like a little like a peg by the handle of the hoe. So basically, you have like a handle, and then you attach, whatever instrument you use. Let's say it's a hoe to use for digging. So you put it down, and then you put like another peg in to keep the handle in place, that it doesn't come apart. So you place that in there. What is one chayiv for? So Rav Omar Mishum Baina. Rav says you're chayiv for building. Shmuel Omar once again Mishum makav patish. Shmuel says makav patish, and Rav says bona. So we have three cases: our chiseling, our mishnah, chicken coop, and then the handle of the hoe. Now tzricha, we need all three cases. If we just get the first case, maybe Rav only said it there because that's the normal way of building. But making a hole in the lush that's not the normal way of building, right? That's not the normal way of building, because let me just see the Rashi. Okay, I guess because the air was only made, I guess, to go out, and therefore it wasn't the. I guess it's not the. Just no Rashi. 1 second. I guess when he builds, right? Let me just see. Fine, this is Rashi say. Right, so I guess that's not the normal way there. Normally, they're building, placing things on top of each other and building, and not just making holes.
You're right. There's many ways of building, not just one way.
No, but there's normal ways of building. Normal ways of building is to place one thing on top of the other and build up, not making holes. So maybe not making holes, maybe that wouldn't be baina. So therefore, he has to teach us that even in that case, that is considered to be the building, right? It's a model Shmuel. Maybe I'll say the Shmuel that's Makapatish is not Biyashin Baha. It maybe says in the case of Losh Baha Kamarav Mishun Dami Labinyan David Lavira. Because maybe this is similar. Making chinkub is similar. When one is a window, it's for air to go both ways. So too over here, maybe the chinkub, the air goes both ways. La Shufta the Kuplinya Damara. But placing the peg and the handle, the Ein Derech Binyan Bekach. That's not the normal way of building, right? That's not something which is like, like a permanent structure, right? Maybe I would say he would agree with Shmuel that it should be considered a case of makapadish, final blow. Therefore, it teaches that case. Maybe it's only the last case. Shmuel. Maybe in that case, Shmuel would hold that this is considered makapadish. But the other two cases, maybe you agree to Rav that is considered to be baina. Therefore, tzricha, it has to keep us teach us all three cases. And finally, Boimini Rav Nassim Bar Oishia Mi Rabbi Yochanan. Why is one chayv for chiseling? So he showed him like, he showed him as like a swinging like a hammer. So he says, it's for swinging makapatish. All right, does our Mishnah say one who chisels and one who is makapatish? Sounds like two different things. So you're not chayv for that. So ema hamasates hamakapatish, right? One who chisels is the one who basically is chayv for a final blow, and therefore he would be chayiv for that, and we'll stop here. Everyone have a wonderful day. Shkayach. Quick question: Was it difficult to hear me when they were behind me, like mowing the lawn? Or